Have you ever had an itch that just wouldn't go away? You may have scratched it, shrugged it off, and told yourself it's just dry skin, but sometimes our body sends tiny whispers before it shouts. Today, I want to share 6 quiet signs that could mean something more serious, and how simple actions can truly protect your health. One of the first things I often tell my patients is this: if a spot on your skin keeps itching in the exact same place over and over again, it's time to pay attention, especially if you're over 60. As we age, our skin changes. Yes, it becomes drier, more fragile, but persistent itching without a rash or bite might mean more than just dry air. It could be your skin's way of warning you about something growing underneath. I remember a gentleman named Harold, 72, from Des Moines. He came to me with what he described as a pesky itch under his right shoulder blade. He said it had been there for months, bothering him mostly at night. His wife had noticed he kept scratching that same spot through his shirt. He thought it was his laundry detergent or an old sweater. When I took a closer look, I saw a slightly raised rough patch. We did a biopsy and it turned out to be squamous cell carcinoma, a common skin cancer in older adults. Thankfully, we caught it early, and Harold had it removed with no complications. What stuck with me most was when he said, "I thought I was just being dramatic." You're not. That itch was his body asking for help. What often helps in cases like this is to take a photo of the area. If the itching doesn't stop within 3 weeks or gets worse, show that photo to your doctor. Keep track of it like you would your medications. It's a small step that gives your doctor something to work with. Your body has been with you through decades of seasons, storms, and sunshine. When it speaks, however quietly, it's worth listening. You deserve to feel safe and cared for from head to toe. Here's something that often goes unnoticed: a small spot that cracks, bleeds, or scabs, then seems to heal, only to start bleeding again. Many seniors brush it off as a scratch or dry patch, but when it keeps coming back in the same place, it may be a sign of basal cell carcinoma. This is the most common type of skin cancer, especially in people over 60, and it usually appears in areas that got a lot of sun years ago, like the nose, ears, or arms. A woman named Mary, 68, from Tucson, came to our clinic after months of treating what she thought was a dry patch on her cheek. She said it would crack open, then scab over, then break open again. "I kept putting cream on it," she told me. "I thought it was just the desert air." But her son noticed it hadn't, healed for nearly 2 months, and insisted she get it checked. We did a quick biopsy, and it came back as basal cell carcinoma. Luckily, it was small, and we removed it quickly and cleanly. Mary was shocked. It had never hurt, never even looked alarming. Just a little spot that wouldn't behave. One of the simplest actions you can take is to keep an eye on any wound or skin spot that doesn't heal within 3 weeks. Don't wait for it to get bigger or painful. Just have it looked at. A quick visit could make all the difference. Even something small and quiet can matter. Think of your body like a book. If a page keeps reopening, maybe it's asking to be read more carefully. You've earned the right to live with peace of mind, and you're not being silly for checking. Let me tell you, one thing that always gets my attention is when someone over 60 suddenly develops a new mole or skin spot. It might look harmless, maybe even like a freckle or a liver spot, but if it's brand new and you've never noticed it before, that's worth a closer look. Our skin naturally slows down with age, so new growths can sometimes signal a deeper issue, especially when they appear without reason. I once saw a man named Thomas, 74, from Charlotte. He mentioned a tiny dark spot that popped up on his thigh after a vacation. He thought it was from a bug bite or sunburn, but it didn't fade. In fact, over a few weeks it seemed darker and slightly raised. He brought it up during a routine checkup, more out of curiosity than concern. When we biopsied it, it turned out to be an early-stage melanoma. Because Thomas said something early on, we were able to treat it quickly and effectively. If I hadn't mentioned it, he later told me, I would have never guessed it was anything bad. That's the tricky part. It didn't itch or hurt. It just appeared quietly. What I always suggest is this. Once a month, take 10 minutes to look over your skin. Use a hand mirror or ask a loved one to help check hard-to-see spots like your back. Look for anything new, unusual, or changing. Snap a photo if needed, so you have a record over time. You know your skin better than anyone. Trust your instincts. A new spot isn't always serious, but it's always worth checking. You deserve answers, not guesses. Now here's something that can sneak up on you. A spot on your skin that starts to change. Maybe it was a tiny mole you've had for years or a patch you never paid attention to. But suddenly it looks different. It might grow a little, darken in color, become uneven around the edges, or just start looking strange. These changes, especially in people over 60, can be warning signs of melanoma, a more aggressive type of skin cancer that's very treatable if caught early. I remember Janet, a 70-year-old woman from Portland. She came in after her granddaughter pointed out that a mole on her upper back had become lopsided and darker than before. Janet had always thought of it as a beauty mark from her younger days. It had been there for decades, but when we compared it to a photo from 2 years ago, the difference was clear. It had nearly doubled in size and become irregular. We did a biopsy, and sure enough, it was melanoma. Thankfully, we removed it early. Janet told me later, "If my granddaughter hadn't said anything, I would have ignored it forever." One of the easiest ways to stay ahead of this is to follow the ABCDE rule. A for asymmetry, B for irregular borders, C for color changes, D for diameter over 6 mm, and E for evolving. If you see any of these signs in a mole or skin spot, show it to a doctor without delay. Changes are like whispers, gentle hints that something's different. Listening to them means respecting your body and giving it the care it needs. You have the wisdom and strength to notice when something's not quite right. Another thing I often see, especially in older adults, is a dry, rough patch of skin that just doesn't go away. It feels almost like sandpaper, maybe on the scalp, forehead or back of the hands, places that got years of sunlight. Many people assume it's just age-related dryness, but sometimes these patches are called actinic keratoses, and they're not just dry skin, they're considered precancerous. Left untreated, some can turn into squamous cell carcinoma. Let me tell you about Edgar, 69, from Bakersfield. He was an avid fisherman who'd spent most of his life outdoors. One day, he came to me for a routine checkup and mentioned a scratchy spot on his forehead that had been there for months. It wasn't painful, just flaky and rough, and he figured it was nothing. But when I touched it, I felt the crusty texture immediately. We took a small sample, and sure enough, it was an actinic keratosis. We froze it off that same day, quick, simple, and painless. Edgar was surprised. "All those years in the sun," he said, "and I thought I was just getting old skin." What often works well is to gently run your fingers over your face, scalp, and forearms once a week. If you feel a patch that's rough, scaly, or keeps coming back, ask a doctor to take a look. You don't need to wait until it hurts or cracks. Think of your skin like a garden. Sometimes small weeds pop up, and if you pull them early, everything stays healthy. You've nurtured your life for decades. It's okay to check in and care for it a little more now. Sometimes the body sends signals that are so subtle, they're easy to overlook. One of those is unexplained itching, without a rash, without redness, just a deep, nagging itch in one spot. For older adults, it's common to blame this on dry skin or nerves, but persistent itch in a specific area, especially when there's nothing visible, can sometimes be linked to skin cancer growing beneath the surface. I remember Clara, 73, from Albany. She told me she had a funny itch near her collarbone that wouldn't let up. It didn't hurt, didn't burn, just itched now and then. She used moisturizers, changed soaps, even switched laundry detergents. Still, it lingered. When she finally mentioned it during a wellness visit, we took a closer look. Her skin looked fine, but beneath it, a small basal cell tumor was beginning to form. It hadn't broken the surface yet, which is why she never saw a mark. We were able to treat it early, and Clara later said, "I'm glad I listened to that." Little itch. If you notice a spot on your body that itches for more than a couple of weeks without explanation, try writing down when it happens. Keep track of how often and where. If it doesn't fade, talk to a doctor, even if there's nothing to see. Just because something seems invisible doesn't mean it's not real. Trust your senses. They've guided you through a lifetime, and they're still looking out for you. If any part of today's video felt familiar, please don't brush it aside. Leave a comment to share what stood out to you. It might help someone else too. And if you found this helpful, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and tap the bell so we can keep learning together. You're not alone in this. You're stronger than you think. Life keeps going, especially when you reach out and hold it gently.